I want to tell you all a story because I'm curious if this is a story that sounds a little bit similar to something you have done. But you heard that the RetroTink 4K was going to be released and that it was going to support native HDMI input to be scaled up to 4K. So you thought to yourself, native HDMI input scaled to 4K, very clean video source, maybe, just maybe, I should upgrade a number of my consoles to HDMI output to get the best possible quality out of this sucker as possible. And afterwards, after you spend all this time and money doing this process, you discover the results might not actually have been all that much better than the standard component VGA RGB output that these systems were already capable of, because that's something that I have personally been seeing as of late. And now, don't get me wrong, there are many, many benefits to HDMI modded consoles still, but considering the price to doing an HDMI mod versus the price of just a standard component or RGB or whatever have you cable, is it really worth it? And this is something that's going to have to be decided on a person-by-person basis, but I've found that the answer really is not so much for most things. But I want to start taking you down a series of HDMI modded consoles and showing you the differences between their standard video outputs that you can access with relatively easily affordable cables versus these internal HDMI mods. And today we're going to start with the Sega Dreamcast. So I have on my desk here a series of consoles that I'm hoping to cover in this HDMI series, but again, today we are focusing on the Sega Dreamcast. So there are two HDMI mods available. There is the BlackDog DC Digital, and then we have the PixelFX DC Digital Hardware 2. So we're going to be covering both of these Dreamcast models in today's video, and we're going to be comparing them to RGC component cables. To start us off, we're going to be looking at the BlackDog DC Digital. So this is probably one of my favorite HDMI mod kits. It's a very simple, no frills HDMI output that gives you perfect video and audio from the Sega Dreamcast. So going into its on-screen display, if we head into the output resolution, we have four options available. VGA, which is the Dreamcast's pretty much native output for a vast majority of games. 480p, which is just a couple of lines wider than standard VGA, so this is 640 by 480 versus 720 by 480. But Firebrand X has made some wonderful profiles for the RetroTink 4K for the 480p mode to give it a nice 4x integer scale, so no matter which option you choose here, it's going to look great. Then you also have 960p, which is also an integer scale of 480, and then the 1080p output mode, which just puts 960 in a 1080p frame. So essentially, no matter which option you choose, you are able to get a really good looking image out of it. If you want it to be integer scaled, you could do so. If you want it to fill, you could do so. But for today's example, we're going to be using the 480p output mode combined with Firebrand X's profiles because it just looks really clean. But honestly, no matter which option you choose, you're able to get a really nice image out of the BlackDog DC Digital. Now, one of the most fantastic options that's available within the BlackDog DC Digital is in the advanced video settings, and that is the deinterlacer 480i pass-through mode. So if you're in NTSC or PAL, you can pass through deinterlacing options over to the RetroTink 4K. And this is important because I have found that the deinterlacers on the later PixelFX kits just aren't as nice as the one found on the RetroTink 4K. So being able to pass it through gives you just the best of both worlds. You get the clean digital output with the benefits of the RetroTink 4K's better deinterlacer. Now, if you're running your BlackDog DC Digital through the RetroTink 4K, I honestly just recommend leaving upscale mode on 2x if you're using the relaxed firmware. HQ2X can soften things up a bit too much, so it'll be personal preference, but that's just my recommendation. And along those lines, make sure any scan lines are turned off because you will be able to get a lot more use out of scan lines through the RetroTink 4K. Now, under video mode settings, you have three options to use here. You could force VGA, cable detect, and then switch trick VGA. If you use force VGA and you have something like a GDMU or Terra Onion mode, you're able to force most games into VGA format, and there are very few games on the Dreamcast that will actually be in 240p or 480i. There are still some, but it's like 16-ish abouts, give or take. So the overwhelming majority of the Dreamcast library is able to take advantage of progressive modes, which is truly beneficial. I'm using cable detect in this video just because as soon as I unplug my video cable, the DC Digital will output in 480i, which is something I need to showcase in this video to give you all the most clear view of what to expect from this kit. And again, on the RetroTink 4K side, we are using Firebrand X's DC 4x3 DC Digital Sharp Profile. And we have that set to Genlock with FreeSync enabled. But by going into the 240p test suite for Dreamcast, we can confirm that everything is outputting as it's supposed to, so the checkerboard pattern here looks fantastic. And then you could also do the scroll test to make sure that there's no shimmering or other types of artifacting, so as you can see, it looks fantastic. So now by comparison, the RGC component cables, you can see that we get a similar output. I have had to manually crop and adjust some of this to make it so it matched up with our DC Digital, but the end result is pretty good. That being said, the RGC component cables do have a couple of shortcomings compared to other video out options on the Sega Dreamcast, so if I still had access to, say, a retro axis SCART cable or a Torabox or some other VGA cable, the results would actually be a lot better. But as you can see, our checkerboard here is a little more gray instead of black. And if we go into our grid scroll test, you can see that there is a bit of a color mismatch if we zoom in on it. But going into our scroll test, you can once again see that everything is looking pretty good. There's no shimmering happening. So all things considered, it's still going to be a pretty interesting comparison. But here are a couple of games for you to see the difference between the Black Dog Tech DC Digital and RGC component cables.
This victory strengthens the soul of Sophia. You win! This victory strengthens the soul of Sophia. You win! This victory strengthens the soul of Sophia. You win! This victory strengthens the soul of Sophia. You win! This victory strengthens the soul of Sophia. You win! This victory strengthens the soul of Sophia. You win!
Yoo-hoo! Good job!
Take me to the cable car, up on the
Okay,
hill.
we're gonna fly.
Yeah! Go straight!
Okay.
Oh!
Don't group me.
Didn't expect to get here so fast!
You're tough enough. Let's go.
Watch it, you nearly killed me! Take me to the cable car at the
Okay,
bottom of the
better
hill.
hang on.
Hey! Wow, you're a great driver!
Satisfied. Yoo-hoo! Good job!
Honey, I need to get to pizza.
Okay, better hang on.
Oh, yeah! Let's go!
Okay.
Oh, baby! Oh, watch it, you fool! Ah-ha! Oh, baby! Oh, yeah! Oh, that hurt! Pay more attention now! Oh, you hit
Don't group me with the others.
it! Didn't expect to get here so
Brilliant.
fast!
Taxi? Hey, what's your problem?
You're tough enough. Let's go.
Hey, what's it, you idiot? Take me to the church.
Okay, better hang on.
Hey! Oh! Go straight.
Okay, you
Could you
ready?
keep your eye on the road? What? Oh, you hit it! Let's move it.
Okay.
Yeah! What? Oh, you hit it! Whoa, you're one hell of a driver!
Just doing my job.
Taxi, go! Taxi!
Hop in.
You're styling. Take me to the heliport.
Okay, we're gonna fly.
Go that way.
Okay, you ready?
Hey, what's your problem?
Don't group me with the others.
That was hella
Don't
fast.
group me with the others.
That was hella fast.
Brilliant. You're tough enough. Let's go.
Watch it, you nearly killed me! I need to go to Kentucky Fried
Okay,
Chicken!
you ready?
Oh! Let's go!
Okay. See you soon. Have a nice
Thanks.
day. Enough.
Oh, baby! Gonna make a ride!
Okay, you ready?
Oh, yeah! Yeah! Yeah!
Thanks. I'll give you a thrill.
Oh,
next
I
time.
could do.
So after poring over all the comparisons I've done over the last couple of weeks between the Black Dog Tech DC Digital and the RGC component cables, the results are pretty dang similar. Going back and forth between these two stills from Soul Calibur, you can see that you can notice some sharpness differences between the two, but overall it is pretty negligible, and in the heat of gameplay, very hard to notice. But otherwise, colors and other things are relatively similar, which is actually pretty cool to see considering that the RGC cables do have that color problem with the green channels, so honestly not bad for what I would consider a B-tier video cable for the Dreamcast. Now as for the DC Digital Hardware 2, things are a bit more complicated to get set up, but not super complicated thankfully. So essentially, there's two modes of operation when it comes to the DC Digital Hardware 2. There is now standalone and direct mode since the latest firmware updates. So we are on 2.6.12 for this video. And if you head into the video menu, if you're on standalone mode, you can see that we have a number of extra output modes that weren't available on the Black Dog Tech DC Digital, but we still have access to VGA and 480p. So this 480p one still works perfectly with the Firebrand X profiles that are included on the RetroTink 4K. And again, it works for like 97% of the entire Dreamcast library. But the thing about the DC Digital that is unfortunate is that it does not have deinterlacing pass-through as one of its default options. So what they have done instead is opted to include a direct video mode which passes through the video signal directly to the HDMI board out to your RetroTink 4K. Now, unfortunately, the implementation is not working correctly with the latest RetroTink 4K update that's supposed to be able to read these direct video modes. And considering these work with Mr. Cores in direct video mode, I'm thinking this just might need another patch. But to get the output to work correctly, we just have to go into our RetroTink menu for the time being, HDMI receiver, and then discard the Mr. DV1 direct video stuff. And that gives us a custom 1280 by 480 output for our Dreamcast that looks something like this. And we have to use the direct mode for any of our 480i and 240p games, and they will require some manual setup with our decimation factors. So for example, just like that. And then if you want to get the image to look as sharp as possible, we could just go ahead and scale this back down to a 4x4 integer scale, just like so. And that gives us a very similar result to the Firebrand X 480p profile for standalone mode. So I plan on using this direct mode for today's video with the hardware too, so let's check it out compared to the RGC component cables.
Winner! 私の戦いは終わりじゃない。消え行かなければならないの。許して。 間はないの。
So with the DC Digital hardware too, you can see that there is very minimal difference between it and even what I'd call B tier level video cables for the Sega Dreamcast. I mean, even scrolling back and forth between this still image of Ayame here from Dead or Alive 2, outside of some minor brightness variations, there's really not much difference that you can see as you actually play through the games. The details are all there. And the brighter image is actually from the RGC component cables because I used auto gain and that's what it decided to give me and I felt like I liked it, so I just left it there. But the results really do speak for themselves. If you already have these mods, you're going to get great results out of them, don't get me wrong, and you're going to have pure digital audio, which is always a nice thing, but as far as picture quality goes, there's just no reason to spend this much money on the mod when you can get relatively cheaper options that don't require any user modification to use. So retro gaming cables run for about 65 USD or 59.99 euros, not including shipping. And again, I think that they have turned into a rather capable option and hold their own very well against the internal HDMI mods when games are actually in motion and you're playing them. The handling of 480i and 240p content is also done very well, but I would still recommend finding something a bit better. So along those lines, Behar Bros has a number of Dreamcast specific options that you can use, such as the Kuro Plus, this one's VGA plus SCART, this one's just VGA. You've got the Toro box, which is what I used to have, this one had VGA and SCART as well. And then the Gecko is just a straight HDMI option, and then coming soon is a Mamba SCART cable that supports both 480i and VGA output modes. And again, these are just really no hassle methods of hooking up your Dreamcast to a RetroTink 4K that are going to give you fantastic results. But if you decide you still want to go with the HDMI modded route, unfortunately the original Black Dog Tech DC Digital, which is the one that I think I prefer most, is no longer available. You're going to have to buy a pre-modded system that includes the kit, and that's going to be well over the original $130 asking price, so I've seen these go anywhere from $300 to $600 on secondhand sites and things like that, so if you can find one for relatively cheap, it's not going to be a bad option, and I think it just handles itself a bit better than the DC Digital Hardware 2 in direct video mode. Pass-through of interlaced content has been awesome, and the line double 240p content looks great. And then as for the DC Digital Hardware 2, it is currently on sale as they try to clear their inventory to replace it with the PixelFX Gem. So it has come down a good $40 off of its new asking price of $170. I think I paid closer to $200 when I picked mine up. But unfortunately, it still will require you to install it inside the Dreamcast, and if you do not have the skills to do so, you are going to need to pay someone to do it for you, which will just increase the price closer to that $200 mark, if not more. And again, the only major benefit of doing the internal HDMI mod in my mind at this point is for cleaner digital audio, at least when paired with a RetroTink 4K. If you're using the HDMI mod standalone, there can be quite a good deal of use cases you could get out of it, especially if you take the system to other places and don't want to bring a whole scalar setup. But again, this video is focused purely on using it with a RetroTink 4K. So with everything that I've seen and tested when it comes to the Sega Dreamcast running through the RetroTink 4K, going the HDMI route just really doesn't give enough benefits to make it worth the price in my opinion. But that's one of the reasons why I wanted to make this video, so you could all just have some baselines to compare to, even if the video output option you're using isn't the most optimal. The RGC cables have their own problems, and as you can see, they're holding their own quite well. But which option did you guys prefer throughout this video? I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, and just curious to see what you all thought about this comparison overall. But go ahead and call it here. This is a very long-winded video. That's why we had to split this one up into different parts. I'd originally planned on doing this all in one go, and that would have been ridiculously dumb. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. To all of you who made it to the end, you are friggin' heroes. And just the usual favors here at the end. Thumbs up, thumbs down, you know the drill. Sub button, notification bell. And if you'd like to further help support the channel so we can keep doing interesting content like this, be sure to check out that join button here on YouTube and the sub button. Patreon link in the bottom right hand corner of the screen. But big thank you to all of our current backers. You're amazing champions. Thank you for always believing what we've been doing here and helping us keep it going for so long. Thank you so much. Couldn't do it without you. But until next time, my wonderful internet peeps, you all keep on gaming. We'll see you back next video.